Sorry guys, there my mic was off there, so there might have been a minute where you might not have just heard me, but yeah, hello guys, welcome to the session, welcome to video editing session number 5. I'm going to be looking at the chat on my phone, so I'll be able to kind of hear what you guys see what you guys are saying. So yeah, good morning, Charlotte. Good to see you. Can you hear me now, Charlotte? Because yeah, I had my mic off before, so hopefully that should work now. Yeah, just made yeah. I know that we made that mistake on staying connected before. So yeah, I'm just basically saying that we're going to be looking at a couple of online resources you can use just really quickly because I know we've touched on them before. So the first one here is pixabay.com. Basically on pixabay.com, it's just royalty free images. Now, I do generally recommend when you're getting started that you maybe would do a photo slideshow, just if you want to, if you're getting started and you've never done anything with video before. Yeah, you could use your own images for that, of course. I know that you, Charlotte, have done like a family photo album, which is great. Stuff like that's perfect. But yeah, just in case you wanted to do that, there's a bunch of royalty-free images here. But I've used this website a few times. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. It's pixabay.com. I will put links to all these in the description. Bensound.com, bensound.com is royalty-free music. This is a great one. So whether you are editing some footage you shot yourself, or whether you're editing a photo slideshow once again, or whether you're editing, you're making like a kind of corporate video using stock footage, bensound.com is just a really good resource for being able to kind of work with those kind of things because basically it's got a lot of different types of corporate music, and it would quite highly boost, I reckon, the quality of your video by just adding some music. You'd be amazed the difference it makes by just putting some music underneath something. Whether that's a scene or whether that's like a corporate video, it makes a huge difference. And there's a lot of good royalty-free music there, and that's just on bensound.com. Okie dokie. Then finally, I'm going to show you guys the one that we looked at last week. No, was it last week? No, it was the week before, 2 weeks ago. It is Pexels. So what you want to do is go to Pexels. Like I say, once again, I'll be putting these in the description, so don't worry if you can't see for now. But it's pexels.com, pexels.com/videos, and it's basically just a bunch of stock royalty-free videos, which is great. So stuff like this in particular is fantastic for making those kind of social media videos that we mentioned. Look at that, brilliant. And there's some nice snow, and this kind of stuff goes great with some captions and things like that. So I think that definitely remember this website, pexels.com, because I've used it a bunch of times for media savvy video projects, especially something like that, like a person typing. Could be anybody that. And sometimes if we're short on footage, I don't have time maybe to get a shot like that, we can just grab something from here and it looks pretty seamless. So yeah, it's definitely a good resource. It's pexels.com/videos. So remember that one, guys. It's a nice little one of a doggo here. So a little mini look at that. Beautiful. Yeah, and all the footage, it's about 10 minutes or so. So definitely one to look out for. Pexels.com/videos. They have one that's Bensound, and then the other one is pixabay.com. So there's 3 good resources for you guys just to remember. Okay, I'm going to switch my screens and we're going to have a look at HitFilm Express. Okay. So yes, guys, if you could open up HitFilm Express for me, and we are on the landing page here. Today, as I said, I think my mic was muted just at the very beginning there. So today we are going to do a tooling up scene. We're going to edit a tooling up sequence. And a tooling up sequence is kind of, if you've ever seen any action movies before, then you will have seen a tooling up sequence before. I'm going to show you guys one just as a demonstration, but let me know your own favorite tooling up scene. So we'll go straight in. We can have this as it is. It's 1920 1080. That's the most important thing you want to look out for. So it's widescreen, but we are gonna adjust it to what we have. So whatever the footage is, we are gonna adapt it to that. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. 1080p full HD, that's fine. Frame rate 30, that would be fine, and square pixels 1, that's also fine. But as I said, we're going to match it to whatever we've shot, so I wouldn't worry about it too much for now, as it may change. And 5 minutes duration, that also changes depending on how big your video is. It really just it exports from the end of your video. So your video could be 10 minutes long and it would do that, or it could be 2 minutes long and it would do that. So that's also something I wouldn't worry about too much. That aside, we're going to hop straight in. We're just going to press OK. Okay. And we'll just wait for this to load there. Sometimes takes a minute. There we go, brilliant. Okay, so now here we are, we're back into HitFilm Express, and we're going to go to bottom left here. We're going to click on import. All right, brilliant. And you can see we've got lesson 4 resources, which is not what we want for today. That was last week. We're going to go downloads, and then we're going to go to straight up there to video editing lesson 5 resources. We're going to double click on that, and there you go, guys. The resources are in the description of this video, so if you just click that Google Drive link, if you're doing it now along with us, then it's there. If you are doing this retrospectively, then they'll still be in the description, guys, and just make sure you download those. You may want to pause the video for a minute or so just while you download them. That's fine. Or otherwise, if you're just kind of watching to get a feel for it and then you want to come back to it later, that's fine. But the resources are all there. So yeah, as I said, guys, we've got the tooling up scene, which is what we're going to do first. Second, I'm going to teach you a little hello Wibs. Good to see you, mate. So yeah, first we're going to do the tooling up scene. Then after that, we are going to do a little transition. I'm going to teach you a little transition you can use. And then finally, if we've got time as well, I'm going to teach you a little bit of color grading. Okay, so I'm going to drag all of these in. So I'm just going to left click on the top one, hold shift, and select everything there. And then I'm going to press open, and it's all loaded. So the compression raw A and B is the things that we're going to use for the tooling up scene. Now, I'm going to show you an example of a tooling up scene. So this is my favorite tooling up scene. I really love cheesy 80s action. And hold on a second. So it says the clip you are adding, do you want to change the editor sequence to match the clip? I'm going to say no, because I want to do that for the 2 other videos that I have. So this may not be the right size. So I'm just going to put that to the side there. And I'm going to drag in these 2 clips here, compression A and B. I don't know if that's going to push that to the side. So I'll drag them in one at a time. So compression raw, camera A, put that there. And hold on a second, I'm actually going to delete these off because I want that to match that clip. So if I just delete that, I'm going to drag this one in first. And there it comes up again. The editor sequence differs to the clip that you are adding. So I'm going to press yes now, because that's the clip that we're editing and we want it to match as much as possible. As you can see that it's 23 frames a second. It's not the 30 frames a second that we added. And it's 1280 by 720. It's not 1080 1920, which we have also. So we wanted to match this exactly, and that's a quick way that you can do that. Almost every editing software will give you that option, and it's pretty nice. If you don't know, if it's not your footage, if it's the footage you shot yourself, you'll have a pretty good idea what it is. But if not, then you can, if it's some footage you're editing that's not yours, then you can just do that. You can get it to match your sequence, and it's a nice easy way to do it. Okay guys, so if we scrub through this, and if you remember last week, Wibs, when you asked what scrubbing is, it's literally just dragging through the video. So yeah, there we go. We have this girl with a table full of weapons, potentially an assassin, who knows, and then we're gonna have a little scrub through it, and it's just her tooling up. If that's a bit abrasive, that audio, I can just mute that for now. And there you go. Look at that. Putting the ninja stars in and putting gun belt, and then she clicks a shotgun, and that's where it ends. So she gets a shotgun, she has a little look. One more time. There you go. So it ends with a clock, like lock and loading, and there you go. You've got your close-ups here. It's actually a nice bit of light in there. And that's the final bit. She clicks a shotgun there. But you've got it from several angles there. So you've got it from the right-hand side, from the left-hand side, and kind of face on a bit here in a close-up there. I'm just scrubbing through it really quickly. And putting the ninja stars in. And we're going to get the shotgun in a second. Yeah. So once again, the thing I love about these resources, guys, is that they shot everything from so many different angles. So once again, when you cut this, it's going to look totally different to mine. Let's get that shotgun shot there. Here we go. There you go, locked and loaded, groovy. Okay, guys. So right, so obviously I said I was going to show you an example of a tooling up shot, and let's have a look at that now. Which is fitting because of what the clip is. So that's obviously too small. What we'd do is we'd right click, we'd go up to transform here, and then we'd just go to fit to frame. Bang. And are you ready for this? Because this is an absolute classic. I don't know if I can drag that. Yeah, I can. Just going to drag this window for now. Hopefully I can put this back otherwise. There we go. Just to make it a bit bigger. Alright, cracking. It's not loud, because if it's loud for me, then I'm sure it's like uber loud for you guys. I'm going to turn my volume down a bit. Yeah, so there you go, guys. That's a tooling up sequence, right? And it's one of my favorites because it's quite snappy, it's concise, and it does the trick, man. And it's the slow pickup of the bazooka. Oh man, I love that. Give me goosebumps. It's the slow pickup of the bazooka, and yeah, I just think it's awesome. And just his walk off. It was to put a smoke machine behind him as well, so it's like, what a legend. Okay, so who else can think of any tooling up scenes from films? I'm really interested to know. I've got a couple in my head here. I think Dan's in the chat maybe. So one for Dan is we've got Evil Dead 2. Has one of the best tooling up scenes when he first gets the chainsaw and he goes groovy. That's a good tooling up scene. Can anybody else think of any? I've got another good one in my mind, but yeah, it's a staple of action cinema. All right. So guys, now the next task is to edit it. Okay, and to be honest, this is a good one for anybody, I think, because a tooling up sequence isn't that difficult to edit, because it's not like a restaurant scene where it has a very strict pattern that it needs to follow. It needs to, have continuity, like in a tooling up sequence. So you need to be able to cut it, like, for example, she can't put her shotgun in her right pocket and then in the next shot she doesn't have that, because that would, it would it wouldn't work for continuity purposes. But other than that, you can really cut it how you want. Probably good action movie when Arnold's involved somehow. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's one of the classic 80s Arnold, and there's just so many good one-liners. He throws like a metal steel cylinder through somebody, and then he goes, "Let off some steam, Bennett." It's that's one of the best lines from that. There's so many good. Oh my god, the best line. I don't want to ruin the whole movie if you haven't seen it, but my favorite line from Commando is there's this guy who's like betrayed Arnold, and he's like an awful person, and Arnold like finds him, like beats him up, and he's got him over the edge of a cliff, and he's holding his hand, and he's like, "You know how I said I kill you last?" And he's like, "Yeah, you did, Arnold, you did." And he's like, I lied, and he just lets him go. It's the best ever. It's like one of the most iconic action movie moments ever.
And action.
Right, so the director called action. So to actually edit a two line up sequence, guys, it's really, really easy. The only thing that I want to do, the way that I want to do it, is we need the first cut to match with the last cut, and that's how it's going to cut in. We've already done cut matching. So yeah, so where did the director called action? I'm going to cut as soon as she goes to put the first knife in her pocket, and that will be our first kind of first cut, guys. So I'm just going to drag the cursor to the right there. You just left click and then drag it right just to get that bit out of the way. And then let's crack on. I still need to listen to your track whip, but I'm definitely excited to listen to that. So I'm gonna go, guys. One really really good feature that I use all the time in Premiere, which I want to let you guys know in Hit Film Express, is if you press full stop or comma, it goes frame by frame, which is so important when you're editing stuff and you need to be like very. You want to just go one frame back. So if I press comma, I should go back, but yeah, so if you press full stop, it goes forward, and then press comma, it goes back. So look, press every time I press comma there, it's going one frame back, and I'm going to cut to about there. It's good when you know you need to get like right down to the nitty gritty. And I'm going to press C, which is the razor tool as we spoke about, and I'm going to go cut right on here. So yeah, in response to tooling up scenes, guys, I've got another good one for you. It is in Hot Fuzz. Hot Fuzz has a really good tooling up scene when he goes into the police station, puts in the code, which is 999, which is funny, and then he kind of puts all the guns on him. And Edgar Wright, fantastic director, um, did an amazing job directing that. And something so really good that Edgar Wright did in that is the way that he does the tooling up scene. It's not how we've the footage we've got doesn't do that, but basically he does crash zooms. A crash zoom is when the camera's far out and it zooms in to a person, and it kind of it creates that emphasis. So it creates that kind of intensity that you need in a tooling up scene. So in Hot Fuzz, it's crash zoom, crash zoom, crash zoom, crash zoom. But you can do that with a static shot as well. But it's just a technique that you use with the camera. It's when you either you zoom in really fast, just with the lens, and it just goes, and it looks pretty intense. But you can also do a different kind of zoom, which would be a dolly zoom, which is where the camera's on a rig, and instead of zooming your lens in, you just move forward. So it's more to do with the camera movement. So they both create very different effects. Hot Fuzz, love that movie. Yeah, it's got. You might remember the tooling up scene now that I mentioned it. So we're just gonna kind of cut through these clips, and I'm gonna explain a bit about them as we do it, guys. So right, so we're just gonna. I would say if you we're trying to match it to the first cut, I would say about there seems all right. A little tip about that. So kindergarten cop's great, yeah. Put the cookie down. That's a kindergarten cop line. Put the cookie down. Kindergarten cop's a good one too. Uh, Arnold's a legend, man. I just love Arnold. We haven't really had an action hero since Arnold who is quite like Arnold. So I'm gonna save this first because you know I always get that anxiety about saving. It's always good to be a little bit. So test 6. We've just got so many tests now. Um, I'm gonna kind of explain a bit more about this process as we do it. Yeah, you know what it is when he has a good director, he can put out a really good performance. But I think that the movies where the director's not as well known, you can really see the stiffness in his acting a little bit more, and it's tough. And that's why he's so good as just playing a formidable character, like a formidable figure. But to be fair, um, my favorite Arnold film and best performance, I think, is Total Recall with Paul Verhoeven, who also did RoboCop. Starship Troopers. Great director. Um, in a director that does movies with a lot of great subtext as well. Um, and that's my favorite Arnold film, and his performance in that is pretty good. But if you look at him in something like Running Man, it's so stiff and wooden. So, guys, when you're cutting like a, let's have a look. So that right, he's a pointer as well about cutting this, guys. What you want is like you want it to be as snappy as possible. Um, the key to a tooling up scene is that it moves through the sound. So we're going to utilize the sound as much as possible. So for example, um, any like think of the Evil Dead 2 tooling up scene. You think about the one we just watched with Commando. You hear him like tie his shoes. He goes, then you hear him lock the gun. You hear him lock a shotgun. It's like the sound is what carries each cut. So it goes. Um, so that's one of the that's the whole thing of a tooling up scene is it carried in the sound. What you don't want to see, I'm going to show you as we do it, but what you don't want to see is you don't want to see her like fastening the buttons and stuff because that becomes like a parody or like satire almost. Like like you see her like spending like 10 minutes to do a button or something. That would be good for a comedy, but when you look at Arnold's tooling up scene, he doesn't tie his gun in. He just puts it in there and it's there, and that's what you want. You want it to be quick and snappy, and it doesn't matter if ultimately it doesn't look that realistic that she's just slipping a gun in there because that's what you want. You want it to be fast paced. Yeah, RoboCop, absolute classic. Um, Fantastic movie. I'd buy that for $1. That's one of the lines from it, right? I'd buy that for $1. Is it that? I think it is. Yeah. So that'll do for that. We might not use all of these. We're gonna edit quite a few of these, and then we're going to see how they cut together. So we might not use all of these, but as I said before, guys, we're using the sound to carry the cut, and we want to get it to be nice and snappy. So literally, I'm cutting every time it goes into her pocket. That's all we need to see. We don't need to see her fasten it because she spends a lot of time fastening it because that's not interesting to us. So these scenes in total are 2 minutes, like 10 minutes long, but we're going to cut it down to 20 seconds, and we're going to do that just by relentlessly cutting through. That'll do. So yeah, Arnold is not a very good actor, but at the same time he is. Yeah, and it depends as well because people, good directors know how to utilize him. James Cameron in Terminator, he's a robot, so it doesn't matter how witty his acting is because he's playing a robot, and that's why it's an amazing performance, right? I actually haven't seen True Lies, but I know it's also James Cameron, and it's on my list. So see, that is like I'm gonna just delete all that because I'll have the bit where she puts it in a pocket. But this is what I'm talking about, guys. Like in a tooling up scene, there's no time wasted. And a good action hero, they never spend hours fastening buttons. You'll never see The Rock, you never see Arnie, um, whoever else. Trying to think of some good Sylvester Stallone. You never see them spending 5 minutes fastening something because it's not good for an action movie. Its action is based off pace. I want to ask, what is everybody's favorite action movie? Does everyone have like a favorite action film? I would say mine is probably Die Hard 1, if you can call that an action film. But I would say Die Hard 1, probably my favorite if you categorize that as an action film. But we can say it's definitely a Christmas film, right? right? So we want to get a nice shot of it using the gun here. It's not the best shot. Like I say, we might get rid of some of this stuff um, as we go through, but we'll see how we go. And I think that if you guys do these tooling up scenes, um, you'll also notice that it's yours is going to be totally different than mine, as I said, because we've got so many different angles, and there's no right way to do it. So these shots of just her, we don't need any of this. That looks alright, but
Let me know if I'm in your shot.
And copy.
so we'll start from here. So we don't need any of that excess bit there, guys. So we're just gonna go rid of it. Yeah, there's so many, right? There's so many good action films. I'm a big action film fan myself. I tell you what, probably I'd say Die Hard 1 my favorite, and then the second one would probably be Speed with Keanu Reeves because I think that's so good. And Sandra Bullock is great in that as well. An interesting fact about Speed, the movie, is that Josh Whedon, the guy who wrote Buffy the Vampire Slayer, he actually wrote a lot of the dialogue for that film. Like most of the dialogue, even maybe, but he never got credited for it because he was working for the studio that produced that movie. But at the time, there was some kind of weird law where they couldn't list him as a writer for some reason, or he hadn't done enough because it was only dialogue and it wasn't like the actual story. So they didn't list him as a writer, but basically, like a good chunk of that dialogue is actually wrote by him, but he's not listed as a writer for it, which is pretty interesting. He's a good writer.
Action.
And don't be afraid to just kind of scrub through stuff as well and get the fastest kind of that'll do shot that you can get as well. There we go. So another name for this cooling up thing that we're doing is compression of time. Because basically you're compressing 10 minutes of raw footage into about 20 seconds just by using short clips. So compression of time is another kind of thing to call this. Just picked up a ninja star. Yeah. So literally we're just getting like a few cuts in a row. The main video we're not going to touch too much because I feel like mainly, even though they've recorded it on two cameras, you can if you wanted to, but generally speaking, tooling up scenes are usually about close-ups, right? So you're welcome to use more of the camera A footage, but for me, I'm going to match the front cut and I'm going to match the end cut with it. So it's going to end on it's going to start on the front shot and it's going to end on the front shot, the wide shot. So you're welcome to incorporate it more if you're doing this yourself, but um, as I said, I'm going to be mainly using the close-ups because I feel like that's more fitting of a tooling up scene. And if you look, if we just use the Arnie gets tooled up scene as a comparison, it starts with him tying his laces, so it starts on a close-up, but then it ends on a wide shot of him fully geared up. So I mean, you definitely need to end on a wide shot because that's the payoff, right? I didn't know there was a series of Die Hard, but classic classic few movies. I love the second Die Hard and the third one as well with Samuel L. Jackson's even. It's quite underrated. Simon Says with the bombs and stuff is pretty good. But yeah, Bruce Willis, man. Fifth Element as well is also great. Bruce Willis sci-fi.
Hang on a second. Let's hang on real quick before you do that star.
Just starting on here.
Okay, grab that star.
Alright. Let's see, guys.
Stop for a second. Let me reset to bring it in from the table.
So we can make 2 separate shots here.
Stop.
So I'm gonna zoom in slightly and then just move back before that guy says anything. So she's already took the star there, and we can slice these 2 shots together. I'm gonna use my C. So C and V, you notice I use my razor a lot. I line it up, press C, and then I just left click, and that's how I splice my cut.
Stop for a second. Let me reset to bring it in from the table again. You don't have to set it down. You just go from there. You don't have to set it down. You just go from there.
I'm going to use from here. That'll do. Once again, like I said, I don't want any of these kind of long-winded parts of her like taking time to do something. You want to just get it kind of nice and snappy. All right, you can see we're starting to get quite a few cuts here. I'm gonna whiz through the rest of this stuff a little bit because I don't want to spend, because if we got every single cut of each bit, it might take a little bit of time. Bad Boys with female leads, that'll definitely be interesting. I wanted to see the latest Bad Boys, but I knew that it wasn't Michael Bay, right? So it kind of put me off a bit because the original Bad Boys are great. Number 1 and 2 are both so funny. Mike Lowry. So the scene where Martin Lawrence's daughter is going to go on a date with that guy, and they're like kind of threatening him and like saying they're going to beat him up and stuff. That scene's so funny. Right, so you got to think of it in, with the way I'm cutting this as well, is you've got to think of every single item is its own sequence. So one ninja star goes in, the gun gets loaded, the shotgun gets loaded. Like each different tool is its own sequence, it is its own cut at least. So that's what we're trying to do. That's ultimately the key to it. It's really, really simple when you get to it, guys. I reckon anybody can do this. It's just, all you're doing is literally you're showing each weapon go into its slot, and then the final shot, which is just the reveal of her with all the weapons. And it's that simple, guys. So yeah, I haven't seen any of the Lethal Weapon series either. But I tell you what, I did watch recently. I watched I think it's called The Nice Guys, which is Shane Black. It's the same guy who wrote and directed Lethal Weapon, and it's Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling, and it's really good actually. It's like a comedy action film. So that's my favorite clip from the stuff that we've been doing so far because it's concise and it looks nice and it goes into the slot, and you got a nice pop as well with the audio there. It goes. So we're definitely using this one. So we'll show you that one more time. See, that's nice and quick and snappy. Let's have a little look. There you go, same again. And like I say, just as soon as it goes in the slot, we can cut. We can maybe even whittle that one down a little bit more.
Okay, do me a favor, just with those 2 guns, let's put them both back out.
Right, so all of this is just like
Okay, just for those, what I want to do is actually profile for me. Yeah, I need you to spin so I can
Okay.
see you putting in the holster there.
Okay, both sides or?
Yeah, we'll do one at a time.
Okay.
And hang on a second. Check your photos. Okay, go ahead.
2 seconds. All right, so we're getting there, guys. We're smashing through it, and you can see that we've got quite a big pool of clips. Obviously, a lot of these are the same sequence through different angles, so we're going to play around with the angles, but we're not going to use the same clip twice, obviously. So just be conscious of that. All right, so that's nice. I think we could do a couple of takes of it, so we'll see. But all of that front part we don't need, so we can cut that out. That was it. That's good enough for there. That's one clip. Okay. Let's have a look. Oh, that was nice. Do you guys hear that? That one was really slick. Looks, yeah, it's good. That's good. Let's have a quick look at that. So I could even probably cut from there, right? Because we want it to be as fast as possible. There we go. That's it. That's much slicker.
Good.
Is that good?
Yep, let's continue on.
Okay.
Next on the
It's
table.
got so many weapons. It's like no one could ever use that amount of weapons. So this one here, I'm not going to include this one if we watch it quickly.
Good.
Is that good?
Yep, let's continue on.
Okay.
Because I think that it looks kind of awkward.
Next on the table.
You don't really see what the item is, so it's not interesting to us as the audience, and then also it looks a bit awkward. The same with that. I mean, could you really imagine, right, if they left in a clip of Arnie doing that, where he's like trying to like faff on, trying to get like put like a gun in his pocket? It would just look, it wouldn't look good at all. That's the thing, is that you want your action hero to look like they're, you know, tough. Otherwise, you know, it becomes comedy. So it's like, it depends on your tone. If you're wanting to like, it's weird because you get that a lot in Jackie Chan movies where like um he spends so long on stunts. Like there's a movie he's got called Armor of God, where he has chewing gum and he flicks it into his mouth. Like he'll like be talking and he'll like throw it into his mouth, or he's got this weird thing where it's like on his hand and he hits his arm and it pops into his mouth and it looks really cool. But he'll spend like 500 takes doing that because like that's stunt is so important to him to get right, because he wants it to look perfect, the sequence. But then at the same time, he'll do something where he deliberately kind of gets hurt. So it's kind of picking the right moments for when you want to use your comedy. So a good kind of way, if you did want to make this into a comedy sequence, a good way to do that would be able to have her get everything right, and then at the very end, on the final kind of tooling up thing, it like it's taking it ages, or like it won't click into place, and that's kind of, it subverts the viewer's expectation, so it becomes comedy. But it just depends. He did the meatloaf video. I didn't know that,
Next
but
on the table.
I didn't remember that video being quite like quite out there. So that makes sense to me, actually. Michael Bay gets a bad rap. He's done some bad movies, definitely, but he's done, you know, like Bad Boys 1 and 2 are solid movies. So he's done some good stuff. But there's so many shots in like even in Bad Boys 1 and 2, like you'll look at certain shots and you're like, what? Because he's so obsessed with camera movement, and there'll be certain shots where like there's nothing dramatically interesting happening. It's just a normal conversation, but the camera's like he's got like that very hyperactive energy. I feel like that's so awkward.
She is not a prepared ninja.
Why film it? Because it looks crap. The director says she's not a prepared ninja. I'm gonna try that though. I don't know what that is, but I mean, we can get a nice little quick shot of this as well. That'll do. That's enough for that. Also, in a tool and up scene, it doesn't really matter if you've got like a jump cut,
Is that
because sorry, hold on. That's a really nice shot of the knife. Transformers wasn't too bad also. Yeah, Transformers was okay, right? First Transformers was good. I think they started to get a bit crazy, but yeah, I mean, they sold a lot. At the end of the day, it's like, even if critics hate them, right? If he's selling so many tickets, people like them, there's an audience for them, so. Nunchucks, that's what they are, whips. Oh. I was wondering what they are. Hold on. Bit naff that one. Right. I think we're getting there, guys. That'll do for that one. Like I said, I'm getting a couple of the same cut twice here. Don't worry about that, guys. I just want to have a nice selection of shots. Don't really need the second one, I'm quite sure of that. Get the third one there. That'll do. Yeah, like I feel like especially when you start editing, like when you first start editing, you're really scared about cutting. Like, I don't know, you're really scared about like, oh, we need to show the complete sequence of something happening, but you can cut on motion. You just need to be more precise with it. Like, I remember like years ago when I very first shot something, like it was like there was a shot of a guy walking down the street and he was going from one place to the next, and I left that shot for like 2 minutes, and then like I remember my lecturer at the time was like, why do you have like 2 minutes of this guy just walking from there to there? He was like, you don't need that. You can just cut. Like, he's walking from here to here. You can just cut like halfway through. And I was thinking like, oh yeah. And that's something that you learn with experience, I think, is just being able to kind of be a bit more relentless with your cuts. You don't need to see everything play out all the time. And that's like so crucial for a two lineup scene, because you don't need to see it fast in the buttons. I'll use that one because we've already got a couple of good shots of it using that, but we'll give this one a shot. We have some action music we can use as well. Yeah, nice. Got the commando thing in my head. Almost the end. Now look how clumsy that is, man. Can you imagine Arnold Schwarzenegger doing that? I don't think so. She's gonna get the shotgun now, so this is our final shot. No, we've got the nunchucks first, right? So they're off shot, and then I'm gonna just drag that to here. Oh, doggy. So press V. So C and V. So C is the razor and V is your pointer. Whenever you want to do it, guys. Okay. And let's get that shotgun. Nice. Alrighty. Now we can cut it together, guys. Here we go. Okay, so I'm gonna cut my final scene here. There's another angle here, guys. If you wanted to get that angle from the side as well. Look, and she's like faffing about with something.
Perfect. Perfect.
There's I like it head on because we start with this. You ready?
That's it.
Get that guy send that the other way. Do you remember what these guys do some nice stuff, but do you remember what I told you about hanging? You want some hang time in between you takes, and what does that mean? That means that from the start
That's it.
and finish of a sequence, you need about 5 to 10 seconds where you don't say anything. That gives your editor time to be able to cut stuff, and you're not like going to be the sound's not going to get like caught on anything. So for example, you're looking at that and you think, all right, that's the end of the scene. Give it a couple of seconds and then say, okay, cut. Just so you've got that little bit of breathing space for your editor. I'm just gonna put her splice her and the Arnie scene together. I was wondering what that was. So if I right click, guys, and I press ripple delete gap, that's something that I want you guys to remember, ripple delete gap, because that literally pops stuff together. There you go. Okay, so ripple delete gaps in a bit of an essential watch. See how that matches. match the cut as much as possible. That's too much motion. That's okay. I want to get that guy out then. I'm going to go back and see if there's a better one to cut to. I think that it hangs for a bit. I can probably cut it there. So I feel like I cut it together alright for you guys. Because it's like the angle of the gun changes too much. I want to try. That's okay if we can't find anything else, but we'll have a quick look. Alright. Okay, here we go. That'll do. Okay, let's try this one, guys. Slightly different angle. I think this might be a little bit better. Let's leave that one for now. Okay, I'm going to save this just in case we have a little crash. But alright, making headway, guys. So let's swap this over with this one. And let's see if it looks better or worse. Okay,
Good. Forgot.
she's put together. I'm gonna cut this guy's voice out. So what I'm doing here, guys, is if you right click and then you click unlink. So if I left click on it, right click, and you would press unlink, and it unlinks the sound to the video, and that way we can take stuff out the sound without affecting the video. So I'm just going to drag where he makes that noise out there, and then we've got that nice end. That'll do. Okay, because obviously it looks a bit bare now with the sound, but we're going to put some audio under it. See, we don't want him to go good. Okay. Right, so we've got the end clip and the front clip, and now we need the beginning clip, and so on. Okay, we've got so much stuff. It seems a bit overwhelming, but it's okay. We'll smash through it. So we'll get that front clip here. I'm going to drag all this slightly closer together just so it makes it easier for us. Alrighty. For some reason it didn't drag the sound there, so okay. Right, so we've got our front clip, and now we need to find a match for that. So we just need a clip of a knife going in. That's not the best knife clip we've got, right? It's gonna get easier in a sec, guys, don't worry. What? Alright, there we go. Alright. Oh, that goes together nicely. Alright, good stuff. Just gonna delete that one. We're just whittling our way through the clips, and now we've got a front. I haven't downloaded software yet, but you're right. No problem, Wibs. I might send you a video from the people who made this doing a tutorial how to download it. I think that they did make one. I'll double check and I'll send that to you as well. And that might help you download it a bit more as well. Because I know I sent you that stuff last week, but that might help as well. That'll do. But I like that we've got a better one of those though. Gonna delete these three because I think we've got better clips of all three of those. Well, that's not really giving us anything. That'll do. Alright, that one will work there, but I want the ninja stars first, so it's not going from knife to knife. That's good. So yeah, we're doing good, guys. Smashing it now. That one will work a lot better. Right. If I could get maybe another second on that. I wanted to just like the strap to just go over it, but not anything else. It's taking too long for it to do that. Let's see. Because she takes two, so it. Alright, hold on, I'll leave it where it was. I'm gonna put the speed on this one up by 100 by like 10%. So if I right click on it, I go to speed and duration, then I'm gonna put this up by 10% just because I want it to be a little bit faster. So yeah, and that shouldn't 10% shouldn't make a noticeable difference. All right, getting that. See what else we've got. Got some good. I think those guns, they're the best ones. Even though it's a little bit overexposed, they look the best in my opinion. So I'm going to take these two. See, once you've got it all cut out, you can kind of just pick from it and just see which ones you want best. Okay. Okay, and then ripple delete gap again. If at any point there's a bit I go over that you think like, oh, I can have a little bit more detail on that, can you explain exactly what you just did? Totally can do that, guys, so don't worry. So I'm just ripple delete gap. So literally ripple delete gap just means you're just deleting the gap where the stuff is. Alrighty. Getting there, guys. You've been busy with artwork. Oh, fantastic, Charlotte! I'm so glad that you started to edit the horror one. That's awesome news. Let me know how you get on, and also if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to send it my way, and I'll do my best to help you out. So that's awesome, Charlotte. I'm happy to hear that. We're getting there now, guys. I think we've got like literally like a couple more things to put on, and then we're pretty much done. That'll do for that. We're really getting there. Okay, and then I think we've got the shotgun. That's literally it. Yeah, killing it. You ready, guys? Oh my god, that's just, oh my god, what the hell happened there? It went like 100 miles an hour. Right, here we go. I'm ready, guys. Let's see how it goes. Where's it? There we go. I was thinking, where's my footage at? Here we go, guys. Right. We may need to take some stuff out and move some stuff around, but we've kind of got it, I think. I'm just gonna, what I did next is went to bottom left here, go to effects, and then I went down to transitions, and we're putting cross dissolve on. So you find dissolve under video transitions, cross dissolve, put that at the beginning there. We're going to put one at the end as well. Cross dissolve, put it, if you can, put it at the end there. And then effects, we're going to go to transitions audio, crossfade, put that at the end. And that's at the beginning. That's I'll press Control and Z to undo what I just did because it didn't go to the very end there. There we go. Now back to effects and transitions audio, cross dissolve, put that on the end there. Brilliant. That's not the right clip actually. It just, my timeline just really jumped around there. Sorry. There we go. Okay. Right, there we go. Back to effects. Sorry guys. Transitions audio. Drag that to the end. It's not going to the end for some reason. All right, one more time. There you go. Now it's on the end. Brilliant. And then effects one more time. We're going to do it at the beginning. Crossfade. Transitions there at the beginning. I'm going to press ripple delete or right click. Ripple delete. It's going to go straight to the beginning there. So So I drag my cursor all the way at the beginning, and here we go. Okay, so we're going to watch Arnold's for comparison, and then we're going to see the one that we just made. Okay, but bear in mind the one that we just made, it might need first. Actually, we've got a track here. So if you look, sorry, I'm jumping all over the place, but if you look here, guys, we've got a track that I've put in the resources, which is it's an action track, and if we just drag that in, okay, gonna lower it down because I know that I deafen you guys. There we go. Okay. So we're going to have that at the beginning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click where audio is, insert track, and then I'm going to drag it the one below, and then we're going to drag it all the way at the beginning there. And I'm going to use my C tool to cut at the end here, so that we're not cutting. So we've still got the audio to carry us, even though the audio for the clip cuts out a bit because we don't want to get the director in. And we've got about 24 there, so it's still quite quiet. And once again, I'm going to put 2 cross dissolves in. I'm going to save it first, Control and S for it to save it. Oh, let's actually go to save. Yep, just make sure we save it. Then go to Effects, Transitions Audio, Cross Dissolve, and then we're going to do another crossfade at the end. Right, okay, so now we'll watch Arnie's one more time, and then we'll check ours out, okay? So let's see Arnie's tooling up sequence. Bear in mind now is we still need to kind of have a little go on it. Right, so there's Arnold's tooling up scene. Let's see how ours is. I think we may need to. I'm not sure because we haven't played it. This is the first time we're playing it back, so let's see. But all right, are you ready, guys? And then we'll export it if it's good. It's okay. It's pretty good. I think that some stuff could be shortened down a bit, switched around, but I think that it's pretty okay. I'm pretty happy with it. And like I said, guys, you know, if there's any jump cuts in a tooling up scene, you have permission really because the scene in itself is just all kind of close-ups jumping around. So I wouldn't worry too much about jump cuts in the context of a scene like this. So that would be a jump cut, but it's fine. Because it's the whole point of a tooling up scene is compression of time. So the audience knows that this is happening, then this is happening, then this is happening, and it's all condensed into 20 seconds. So you're ultimately compressing the time. So if there's a jump cut, the audience knows that time is jumping by the fact that it's a tooling up scene anyway. I'm happy with it. We're going to export it, guys. I'm going to cut this one here. And we'll delete that. Let's see how that plays, because I think that we didn't need that to be as long. Right, we're going to export it, then we'll have a look at it, and then we're going to move on to a little bit of color correction. So I think it's decent. But yeah, guys, feel free to. The good thing about this is you can be as creative as you want. You can use as many of the different shots or angles as you want, and you kind of have poetic license to use jump cuts and things like that that otherwise may be a little bit taboo in editing. And the reason is because we're compressing the time, so the audience is aware of that. So we're going to go to export here. So basically there I made it in and out because I wanted to kind of select only this. So I press my I on my keypad and then I drag to the bottom where it ends, and then I would press O on my keypad, and that just makes this little, you see this red highlighted bar at the top, it just makes that for us, which means that's all it's going to select. And then when I go to export here on the right hand side, I click this little drop down arrow and it says export now, and then I press export in and out area, and then it's going to come up like this and it says test 6, which is fine, and I know exactly where it's saving to, so that's okay. It'll save automatically on your desktop. Looks fantastic. Cheers, Whitbud. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, it's not quite commando, but we did the best we could with the footage we had, and I think it looks pretty decent. We'll look at it one more time on the big screen when it's exported, and then we'll look at some grading together. But yeah, it's 33 seconds, guys. I'm just gonna now, while this is exporting, I'm just gonna remind you guys that we've got the survey as well. I'm gonna quickly go to like the world's quickest break screen of all time here, just so I can show you guys what I'm talking about, if it'll let me. There we go, sir. Had a little OBS had a little moment there. So yeah, guys, if you would just be so kind as to go to write our server. Just going to paste it into the link there just to help you guys out. OBS. Okie dokie, guys. Be 1 second. I'm just literally pasting the survey into the chat there, just so. Yeah. So, guys, just before I forget, I'm just going to whack that survey into there, so just in case you guys want to write that survey. Like I said, takes you know the drill, guys. Takes 30 seconds to a minute. You've probably done it before, and yeah, that's that. So just make sure you do that for us, guys. As you can see, our export here has fully exported. So we are going to watch the full video one more time, and then we are going to look at some color grading. And then if we've got time, there's a little transition I want to show you guys, which will just boost the quality of some of your videos. Okay, so I'm going to double click on this. And then I go edit it too. And let's have a look. All right, and let's have a look at our tooling up scene for the last time. Yeah, that's fine. And yeah, happy with that, guys. Okay, so we can go back to viewer here. And that's our tooling up scene. Now we are going to have a little look at some color grading. Just we've got a little bit more time left there, so fortunately we can have a look at some of this nice stuff that we've got. So I just got a few nice videos here. If you look on the left hand side, they're just these pixels videos, and I'm just going to drag them in. So I'm just going to hold shift there and left click and just drag these little nice little guys in. And let's have a look. I've got so many clips left over from the compression of time bit. Alright, and I'm going to drag these to the right, just out the way. Yeah, okay, guys. And then, so, first things first, we've got some nice little waves here. what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to go to Effects, and I'm just going to move out of the way of that, and I'm going to type into the searching effect. I'm going to write in brightness and contrast, and you can see in color correction there is an effect called brightness and contrast. We're just going to click on that, guys, and right, let's see what we're going to do next. So we're just going to press down there. We've got effects, brightness and contrast. All I did was I just clicked in this little bin, I dragged that onto my first clip, so that applies it onto this. And then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of put the brightness slightly down, and you can see already it's adding it, making it a bit darker, a bit more shadowy. And then I'm going to put my contrast slightly up, and then wow, you can see that it gives it this kind of sharp contrast kind of feel. And that's all I've done there. I've put my brightness to -20, and I put my contrast to +50, and then you can see the edited one on the right hand side here, and you can compare that to the unedited the unedited one on the left hand side there. And if I just play this, we can just have a little look at how it looks. Has that very sharp contrast feel, and I quite like it. So I'm just going to kind of close that brightness contrast bit a little bit there, and then I am going to go back to effects, and I'm going to just delete that out of the box. I'm going to go down to color correction again, and there is one here which is hue, saturation, and lightness. And now we're going to put that one on next, guys. So if we just drag that into there, so once again you can see the edited one on the right and the unedited one on the left. And then if I go to hue, saturation and lightness, and then you can see that we've got a few different colors here. We've got all of the RGB colors. We've got yellow, we've got green, we've got red, we've got green, and we've got blue, obviously. We've got magenta as well. So all of these different colors, and basically what that's saying is it allows you to pinpoint the color in this image and to edit that single color. So if I, for example, went down to blue, we know that there's a lot of blues in this image. Like, that's very, very blue, and that's only going to edit the blues in the image. So that's really, really useful. So first we're going to try with the master just to see how that's going to look. So if I put the lightness, I wouldn't mess with the lightness on the master because that's what we've got brightness and contrast for, and it's going to look kind of cheap if you do that, I would say. But saturation is probably the one you're going to use the most, and that is literally just boosting the colors. So as you can see, we've got the edited one on the right hand side, and then we've got the unedited one on the left hand side, and you can see that that makes it a lot more blue. But I'm going to just drag that down. I don't want to put that up on the master, and then I'm going to take it to 0. If you get muddled up, you can just write in the value. So I was typing 0, press enter, and there we go. But if I go to hue shift, that's going to make the colors change, guys. So basically we can kind of change it from, you know, blue, red, green. So if you want to do some kind of psychedelic effect, hue shift would be a good way for you to do that, to make some like larger than life colors that you can see. If I drag it all the way down, it makes it, you know, kind of black and white there. But yeah, literally as I go along this wheel, it's changing to a million different colors. So there, when it gets to about 54, it goes quite purple, which, as I say, looks quite like psychedelic maybe. So we've got like purple water, you know, it looks pretty cool, but once again, it's not a realistic color, so it's definitely, you would look at it and be like, that looks a bit kind of crazy, maybe arty. So we'll go back to 0 now. There, it's 0.4. There we go, 0. All right, so what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to just click off the master, and I'm going to look directly at the blues, okay? So I'm going to look straight at the blue here, and I'm going to put the saturation up on this blue. And then now I think that looks quite nice, because blue, we know, is the dominant color in here, and there we can just kind of use that. And if I put it right down, it drains all the blue out of it, and then without the blue, you can see it looks quite grey, which actually is quite nice. It's weird, isn't it? It makes the water look quite like greeny. quite grey, but I'm going to put the saturation right. I want this to be nice blue, luscious water. And then versus the original. So, you know, both nice in their own way, but it's you know, it's about effects, and it depends on what effect that you're going for. Okie dokie. So we're going to have a look on this next one here, and we would see what we would do for that. So I've already got controls and there's brightness and contrast there. But if we want to go to effects, and I'm just going to go to type in brightness, contrast, brightness, and I'm going to just whack that onto this one. It's already got brightness and contrast on, which is interesting. Maybe I must have, you know, put it on two of them by accident. So if we just drag that brightness down very slightly. Is there color grading in Premiere? Yes, there is color grading in Premiere, and I would look for the, depending on what model of Premiere you're using, there's a thing called Lumite Recolor in Premiere, which is very, like, it's Premiere CC has its own color grading system, which is Lumite Recolor, and that's a thing for another day because it's quite comprehensive actually. But if for a quick color grading thing in Premiere, you can use the freeway color corrector, and in Premiere they also have brightness and contrast as well. So brightness and contrast, just for you playing around with the little ones like this, they've got the same brightness and contrast effect. And then also there's the freeway color corrector, which is where you'll be able to find saturation and things like that as well. So see, if I put the contrast up here, it makes it look a bit more gloomy. I could even put the brightness up if I wanted to. See, what you don't want to do is you don't want to lose quality, so you need to be kind of careful with these things. Just dragging that down to 10, and then the contrast up to like 12. And I think that looks alright now. I'm quite happy with that. I feel zoomed in. Is it zoomed in? Let's see. There we go. I knew it was zoomed in. I'm going to make sure this one's not zoomed in as well. There we go. Beautiful. See, it looks a bit better when zoomed out as well. And okay, we'll do hue, saturation, and lightness on this one as well. Yeah, Charlotte's killing it. Charlotte, you should see. Charlotte made some really nice. What's it called? Like a really nice family album and like photo album in Premiere. So definitely. Okie dokie. Let's go to hue, saturation, and lightness. So if we just go into here, back into color correction there. And I'm just looking for that one there, hue, saturation, and lightness. And I'm just going to drag that one onto here. And let's go to master here. And I'm going to put the saturation up on the master, and then look at that, that's lovely. So see, on the master on this one, the saturation can be really nice, and actually probably is going to get some good effects if we play around with the hue. Look at that, guys, wow. So just by slightly editing the hue saturation, so if I could get that compared with the original, I'm going to find the original. So look at that, guys. So we've changed the hue slightly, and it's literally made the flowers go from bright red to bright purple. And I mean, you would see that, right, and you would think that looks pretty cool, but you would never, I don't think that looks that obvious that we've changed the color, and I think that looks really, really cool. So the way that we did that, guys, just to kind of go over that, is just by editing the hue shift. So all you would do is on effects, you drag hue, saturation, and lightness into it, and then under the master, you just put the hue shift slightly back, and then it makes it pop a little bit more. So if you can see, even because we put the saturation up, even the kind of bush in the background has popped a bit more, and then especially the flowers, they've popped quite a bit considerably, and that is just from playing with the saturation and playing with that hue a little bit. So definitely look for that hue shift, guys, there. And you see, as you can see, we can make the flowers blue if we wanted to, and then we've got like quite a nice like blue hue on the flowers as well. And then if we go beyond that, we can make them kind of a nice kind of what is that color, like turquoise maybe. But be careful though, guys, because the more we edit it, the more the colors around it become changed. So if we go the opposite way, it goes from red to kind of yellow, and we give it a nice kind of green, and then to a deep blue. But once again, be careful, because you can notice when the colors in the background start to get affected as well. So I'm going to go back, and I'm going to just leave that like a little bit. There you go. Because for me, if you look, the one on the left and the one on the right, the background colors haven't been affected that much. It looks a little bit more violet around the edges here and in the bottom left there, but I can live with that, and I still think it looks quite realistic, but it looks very nice, and it makes the flowers look like they're absolutely popping. So, sorry if that's loud, guys, it's quite loud for me, so I'm going to put the volume down on both of those to about 25 then. And that is quite nice there. So yeah, guys, the two good things to edit there, or good tools to use for kind of color correction or color grading, is the brightness and contrast tool, brightness and contrast effect, and the hue, saturation, and lightness effect, guys. And you can get some quite cool dynamic kind of effects, like literally changing the color of the flower from red to violet or pink, and I think that looks pretty cool. And then if you go back as well, we've got our nice deep blue sea. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys a transition. Next is the kind of closing thing that we're going to do. So we'll have a look at that. So what we're going to do here is we are going to left click onto our video on the right here, and we're going to right click on it, and we're going to click make composite shot, guys. So that's the last thing we're going to do, is make a composite shot, and then we're just going to press OK. I'm happy with that. Okay, and I'm going to go right to the end of my video, and I'm going to go down to transform, and where it says scale, I'm going to press this circle. So we dragged our cursor right to the very end here. That's exactly right, Webs. I totally agree, mate. Yeah, so drag your cursor to the very end, and then click your drop down arrow on the video, click your drop down arrow on transform, and then we're going to press the circle on scale. And that's made a keyframe there. And now I am going to press comma 7 times, and I was very specific, but I'm just going to go back a few frames to make some separation. So 1, 2, I'm going to make sure that I click inside here and press 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. For some reason it's not recognizing that I'm doing that. Hold on, so if I just press, now usually that should inch back a little bit, but for some reason it's not doing that. So I'm just going to gauge it by eye, about there. Generally, comma and full stop should help you edge forward and back, but it's not doing it there, so it's okay. I'm just going to press, type in 125 there. In scale, we'll type in 125, and then we've got 2 nice keyframes there, which is so that doesn't look very smooth at all. So what I would do is I would just drag that out a bit, and then I would highlight both of these, and then where it says smooth out, I would do that. So I'm going to press convert selected keyframes to smooth out It's on your top here. Make sure you've highlighted your keyframes. And there you go, bang. Let's have a little look again. So it smooths the transition out a bit. And then once again, make sure we've got those keyframes selected. And we're going to double click on motion blur here. Oops, sorry. And then that should blur it a bit as well. See that you get that nice motion blur. And then we're going to go back to editor. And then that should do that effect on this. So there you can, it doesn't crash, but it gets a little bit, obviously we've got a bit of frame drop here, so you can't really see fully, but you can see that. We've got a nice transition effect there, which takes us from here to here. And then it's a nice little transition. So we're going to do that on the front end of this clip as well. So let's see, we're going to right click and we go to make composite shot. So we can just press OK there. Okay, brilliant. And then we're going to do the same again, guys. So go down, but this time we're going to do it from the beginning. So we go to transform, and we're just going to press scale here. See if it works this time. So yeah, if we press the full stop, we're going to press it 7 times. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to do one more for good luck. 8, and let's do 9. Come on, let's do it. 9. There we go. I'm going to type in 125. So killing it. So 125, and then that zooms in ever so slightly there. But those two clips mashed together should look pretty good. Okay. Look at that, lovely. And once again, just to kind of make that a little bit nicer, I'm just going to highlight it. And let's have a little look. We can go to smooth in this time. So if we find smooth in, press that, and that's going to smooth the clip out a little bit. And then because it's still highlighted, if you look here, there's one called motion blur, and we are just going to press that one as well, motion blur. So that one's going to kind of blur the zoom in as well. So there you go. Wow. So this is going to look quite nice put together. So I'm just going to click back off both of these. Got 2 nice composite shots here. So we go from this to this. And straight into that. So that's a nice little video kind of zoom transition. It's a basic zoom transition, and because of this software, it makes it quite easy to be able to kind of transition from one thing to the next. So I think that to be able to use motion blur, like there's motion blur already on the push transitions, there's motion blur in the composite shots that you can just take on. So there's definitely, although personally I would say for doing a professional project, I would always use Premiere Pro, just because when you're handling heavy video, like if you've got like 4K footage or even like full HD footage, sometimes this program can be a little bit slower, but it is free. So I would use Premiere Pro in those cases generally, but this program is actually quite good, and it's a little bit easy to use for certain VFX things. So in terms of doing graphics and titles, I could potentially use this program over Premiere Pro in some instances. So this program is definitely, you know, good considering it's free. So there's our nice little transition. We go out and then in, and it's a nice smooth transition as well. Out and in. And obviously we get a little bit of frame drop, so you can't see it fully, but that is the main difference there. I'm going to do some color correction on the other footage that we've got here, and then we'll see how we're doing for time. Alrighty, so we're going to go through and I'm going to put that one in there. We don't need that much length for that shot. So remember guys, I'm going to do a quick push transition between this and this. Just dragging these to kind of make a bit of space there. So from that one. So to have a transition in between these two, I'm just going to do a nice little push transition. So if I just go to right click, remember ripple delete, what I've been doing throughout this, and then we're just going to see we've got a nice one of the ice here, but I want this to make sure that it matches my frame. So I'm going to go to right click and then transform, and then I'm going to press fit to frame, and then bang, we're in business. So we've got this nice shot of the ice here. Put this on there. There's no sound on this one, but and then if I wanted to look for my transitions, remember that we've got these transitions as well. So if I go to effects here, go to video transitions, and we've got that one that I've been using quite a bit throughout these. You could go down to motion and push, which I've found a lot of success with, and I put it in between those, and it pushes it out. But you can select how you want to push it. So you can decide if you want it to come from the right or from the left. So if you want it to be left, you can do like that as well. And you can decide how much motion blur you want. So we've had 25%, we can put that at 43 if we wanted. But for this particular one, I don't think that's too fitting, so I might just cross dissolve it. So let's see, I'm just going to stretch that out a bit. Click on that push, because these are all quite similar, so you want it to blend a bit. So let's go to zoom. You can try their own zoom. If we use cross zoom, let's see how that looks. So their own zoom is quite nice actually, and it's got its own motion blur inbuilt. Obviously we just made our own zoom transition between these two, which we have a little bit more control over. But then they've got their own inbuilt one as well. So if you wanted to go to effects and down to zoom and then cross zoom, they've got a nice one as well, which I think looks pretty good. So if you struggle, or you were struggling to make your own, there's one here as well which you can have a little go at. And that looks quite nice as well. I'm just going to do a little bit of color correction on these next two here. Something so peaceful and calming about water, I think. The stuff with water, it's really... Alrighty. So we've got some Coca-Cola here. I think that we could probably get some cool stuff on the go here with color correction. So yeah. I'm just going to right click, and by the way guys, all of these clips I got from Pexels, so pexels.com. so if you are wanting to use this, obviously the resources are in the description, so if you want to edit any of this yourself, the resources are all there and I've put them there. But if you want to get your own, just pexels.com guys, and it's the same stuff that I'm using, so it's right there for you. I'm not going to make a composite shot of that, but I'm going to go to right click and then up to transform, fit the frame, and then voila, that's what we're looking for. Okie dokie. So guys, we are going to go back to color correction. So I could literally type in color correction here. Yeah, it's the American spelling, unfortunately. Let's see, I'm actually going to just go down to that there, color correction, and click down there. And then we drag hue, saturation, and lightness onto that. And then brightness and contrast are already there as well. So I'm going to go on the brightness and contrast, and let's have a little look. Preset we've got there, basic contrast, heavy contrast. You've got a couple of different options if you want to go for a different look. So if I picked heavy contrast, it does that for you. So it's got a couple of different kind of presets there. So heavy contrast looks quite cool. I'm going to get the Coke bottle up on the side just so we can compare. Yep, and you can see there that the heavy contrast pops out the yellow. Obviously this looks a bit brighter, maybe a bit more overexposed there, but it pops out that kind of yellow for us, so it depends on the effect that you're going to go for. Let's have a little look. Go back to controls, sorry. So if I click on the image, and then yeah, so if I want to try basic contrast, yeah, it just lowers that a bit. Once again, we're popping out the yellow. We've got 10 brightness there and 20 contrast. Feel free to play with it yourself though to kind of see where you want to go. And then if we look, we've got flatten as well, which flatten, it takes out all of the color of it. I'm not sure why you'd want to use that, but it's there if you ever did want to. So preset, yeah, and then it still look quite flat there. So I'm going to go back to heavy contrast because I like that one the most. And then I think I'm going to leave it like that. Actually, I quite like that. You see we've got this spot here, which is where you're getting like it's called a hotspot. And you get that a lot in filmmaking when you've got a light on it. So whoever's shot this has had a light on it, or it might even be the natural light. But this is something that you need to look out for while you're filmmaking, because you might get hotspots, and it's a dead giveaway that you know, it's a scene. It can take you out the moment if you notice a big hotspot. So we're going to go to the master here. We've got a brightness, contrast. We've got a hue, with close brightness and contrast. Excuse me. Close brightness and contrast. We've got a hue, saturation, and lightness. And now we are going to go to saturation. We've opened up the master a little bit. And look at that. And I knew beforehand that this was going to look beautiful when we popped out that saturation. But actually, I'm going to go back to brightness. I'm going to lower that brightness a bit and the contrast because it's a bit too much for me. So I'm just taking a bit of the contrast out and even a bit of that brightness out there. And there you go. Now that brightness is on 2, you can really see that saturation popping it out. And it's good to kind of compare these two here. And if I wanted to do a hue shift, guys, because remember we were playing with the colors before, I don't think it would necessarily work on this one, but we can have a little look. Yeah, you can see that it's giving us like, see, that's quite a cool effect. I quite like that. So yeah, just by playing with the hue shift, you can make it into like a nice, cool kind of purple. And I suppose that actually kind of works, to be fair, if you wanted to give it a purple effect. But you need to be aware that you're not diminishing quality. If you wanted to make it like a blue, kind of, yeah, if you wanted to make it a kind of blue Coca-Cola, that gives you quite a cool effect as well. And I think that kind of works a little bit. So just a few things to look out for there. I'm going to put that back to 0. I'm going to lower the saturation because we know that it's yellows and reds, right? So if I go down to, let's put that back on 0. So I'm going to play around with the yellows and reds because we know that they're the 2 biggest colors in here. So let's have a look. So I've got the red there. And let's see what we can do with the red. So if I lower the darkness on the red, we can basically make the Coca-Cola look like it's got black text. The only thing that you would think there is it's saying that the sky has red in it, so it's literally picked the sky out and the bottom here, but it's kind of made these bottles come up as if it's black. So you might need to be a little bit less trigger happy with that. So that's if you've just selected reds, and we can totally take the red out in there. So it's obviously using the lightness on the reds, not giving us much joy. But if we drop the saturation down, you could literally make it look like it was grey. Or you can boost that red, so you've just got the reds popping. So yeah, by literally boosting the red, it's not changing anything to the background, but it's really popping this red out, which is pretty interesting. And if I do hue shift, I reckon we could probably change the color of the red. Yeah, you can. So there you go. And we can make it like but it's still, there's a lot in there, so it's quite hard. If I lower the saturation, I try hue shift. Let's see what happens there. So yeah, you can make it blue, or you can make it kind of green. But once again, because red and yellow are quite close together as well, it's picking out more than one thing. But I'm going to boost the saturation of that for now. And I think that looks quite nice. Can you put masks on videos that you can do on Photoshop on certain sections of the video? Yes, you can. We don't really have time to get into that now, but if you look at the composite, you know how we've been making those composite shots? You would do that in composite shots because you can do different layers in composite shots and you can do masking in it. That's something we can definitely look into in a later session if we have another video editing session. But yeah, you can mask certain stuff out. So this is obviously more of like a kind of basic function, but if you wanted to add a mask to something to like take that specifically out, you can do that in HitFilm Express, and you would generally do that with using the composite tool. But yes, you can. That's a good question, Charlotte. So right, we're going to go into the yellows now, and we're going to see what we can do with just the yellow. And that is something that you could also do in CC as well, the newest Premiere. So taking the lightness out of the yellow, it just really can tarnish the image quite a bit. There's nothing good coming from that. Just go back to... But if you wanted to look a bit more into masks in the meantime, Charlotte, if you type in HitFilm Express masking on YouTube, there's a couple of tutorials there as well which go into detail about it. So yeah, it's boosting the saturation on the yellow, and if we wanted to lower it, kind of makes it, give it this grey kind of image. And let's see if we change the hue saturation, the hue shift just on the yellow, and we can get like a nice kind of red on the, or pink even, which looks pretty cool. But once again, you need to be conscious of the environment and how it's going to change the environment behind it. And as Charlotte said, which was a really good point, if you can mask around certain stuff on here, which you can, then you could just kind of key out the background, and so you only alter in the thing that you've selected, which is great as well. So yeah, if you can look side by side, you can see that the one on the right is just popping a lot more than the one on the left. The one on the left has that nice kind of vintage feel, but it's very plain, whereas the one on the right has a lot more kind of pop to it. And you can see that we've done a little bit more with this as well. But if you wanted to just have it like, if you wanted it to look black and white, all you would do there is you would go to the master, and then you would go to saturation, and you would drag that saturation to 0. And that gives you like a black and white kind of feel, but you may need to work with the contrast a bit to stop the Coca-Cola from not coming out. Yeah, you might need to play around with it a bit, but that is generally how you would get like black and white. It's not really working too much there because it's taking the Coca-Cola straight out of it, but let's leave it purple for now. But for another example of that, if you go to, let's go to this beach here. If we wanted to make that black and white, we would simply go to effects, or let's do it on our first one. Okay, and we would go to just effects there, and hue, saturation, lightness, master. Let's just take that saturation down to 0, and there you go. We've got like a nice kind of black and white effect there as well. So you can put a black and white just by taking that saturation down to 0, and then the hue shift won't change anything because you've got no saturation in that image. So that's how you get a nice quick black and white effect as well. Guys, we are just about finished. We're coming to the end of the session. I hope that you enjoyed it. Sorry if you heard that. A bit neck crack. But yeah, please make sure you do that survey, guys. The link to the survey is in the chat there. If you scroll up slightly, and yeah, please make sure we just get that survey done. I hope that you enjoyed the session. Obviously, we did a little bit of a tool-up scene. We did our tool-up scene. We looked a little bit at color grading, and we looked a bit at some transitions that we could do for our video as well. Today, guys, for the rest of the day, we have another stream, 4 to 5. We've got a Staying Connected with a special guest, so please stay tuned for that as well, guys. I think that I'm going to be doing that one, so that should be good fun. And then other than that, the stream highlights will be worked on. Hopefully we should have at least a snippet out on Facebook. We'll try and get the full thing out, but if not, then the stream highlights will be available on YouTube. Don't know if any of you guys have been watching them, but all of the stream highlights from all of our streams. If you don't have time to watch a full stream, the highlights are there, which have a few funny moments and then a few nice part of what some people have said. So they're a like compressed version of what we've got going on. And yeah, guys, then we'll be back next week with more of the same. And yeah, guys, we've got a few minutes left. So if anybody's got any questions at all they want to ask before we go, then please just drop us a quick question. Hey, just pro edits. Hello, mate. How you doing? We are just getting finished here, but please subscribe to the channel. And if you are interested in any of the things that we've made, you can have a little look through and let us know what you think. We've got plenty of edits on Hit Film Express. This is the fifth and final session. This is Hit Film Express, mate. It's a free software which is available. So if you wanted to download this, you can get it for free. And yeah, it's pretty good. They've got some pretty good features in it. So I would definitely recommend it. If you're editing on quite heavy software, if you're editing on 4K or something like that, it might be a little bit slow and a little bit laggy. But if it's just quite basic HD footage, then I think it should be okay. But yeah, guys, so we did a little bit of color grading, a little bit of color correction, and we did some basic transitions that you can use in HitFilm Express. And we also did an action style tooling up scene. So yeah, and we're going to be time coding this video so you can have a little look through. It's some of the stuff that we worked on there. Let's have a watch of our little tooling up scene one more time. Yeah, so if you are interested, would I make a Premiere Pro tutorial? Yes, yeah, I would. We would make a Premiere Pro tutorial. I'm totally open to that, mate. I think that I can't see why not, but it's something we could look at in the future. We made this tutorial initially just because we wanted it to be open to anybody who wanted to be able to edit it, and obviously HitFilm Express being a free software. However, I would say if you work primarily in Premiere Pro, a lot of the stuff will translate because a lot of the tools and a lot of the kind of a lot of the tools are quite similar. So if you're working in Premiere Pro and you do watch this tutorial, a lot of the stuff would translate as well. I think we've got a few of our learners who use Premiere Pro. I use Premiere Pro myself, and I found that it's quite easy to go to and from. So if you look at any of the video editing sessions that we've done, then I would look. We've got resources for everything. So if you want to edit some different sequences, the session 2 was a horror short film. Session 3 was green screen and captions. Session 4 was editing a restaurant scene. Session 5, which is this one, is editing an action tooling up sequence, and also some transitions and some color grading. And session 1 was a video slideshow. So if you start from the beginning session, we go through all the way from installing the software, how to install the software, and then doing a photo slideshow, like all the way to doing a tooling up scene here. And if you're using Premiere Pro, you could still follow along the tutorial, and a lot of it would be the same, perhaps a little bit different. But so there you go, mate. But in the future, yes, I'd imagine we'll be doing some Premiere Pro stuff because it's what I use daily as well. So I'm totally down for that. Yeah. Okie dokie, guys. I think that is about it. I hope you enjoyed the session. If anybody has any questions, my email is daniel@mediasavvycic.co.uk. Feel free to just pop in and ask me a question. Please, if you enjoyed the session, please do that survey, because that survey, if you've got any suggestions as well, the survey takes 1 minute. It's just there. It's in the description, and it's also in the chat as well. If you just complete that survey for me, then we'll be will be good because it takes about a minute, and it just helps us kind of make these sessions a bit better. But that is the end. This is the end of our video editing sessions. We've got 5 sessions there. They're still going to be available. You can always message me if you've got any questions, and hopefully we'll do some more in the future. I've really enjoyed doing it. I thought it's been really fun. I hope you guys have enjoyed watching it. So yeah, guys, if you've got any questions, just drop me an email, and that's that. But I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys sending me some videos. So if you do follow through on the tutorials, please send me any videos that you make, and I'll be happy to watch those as well. So thank you so much, guys. And if that is it, then I think that we're going to kind of, I think we'll be taking our leave. But yeah, thank you for popping along, and thank you for kind of watching. I really appreciate it, guys. Okie dokie.